Hello, welcome back to Altcoin Buzz Trading. I'm Randy. Today we're going to be talking about CyberConnect, Bitcoin Cash, Fetch.io, and as usual, BTC. And stay tuned towards the end for your TA tip of the day. All right, so let's get started with a look at BTC here. So BTC is still working out the pop from the other day, still working on a consolidation. So you can see yesterday we talked about potentially shorting it if it rallied towards the trend line here. We're still waiting to see if that's going to happen. And if it does, there is a potential trade setup there. Let's dive down into the 2-hour time frame, where at the moment Bitcoin is essentially just working off the pop. So what happens when you get a pop like this, and you can go through all the charts yourself, and it's a good idea that you do so. Go back through the charts. After there's a pop, there's usually a period of consolidation. Sometimes it's only a few bars, other times it's many bars, but you get a consolidation, and after that consolidation concludes itself, you kind of see what you're made of. So last time we had a pop up here, we came out of a low, we failed to go into new lows, we popped up, and then we consolidated, right? Even just this little one up here, but then we gave it all up, knowing that it's not ready. So we don't know that this is ready to like really run through into new recent highs, which are way up here. But even the very recent highs from a couple days ago, we don't even know if we have enough momentum to get up here, right? So we just kind of have to wait and see how that's going to play itself out. Now, as you go, there are a couple interesting things to note in the chart. There is support and resistance beginning to form, and this is your kind of intermediary support and resistance levels right here. Okay, so you can see here that we stalled here. So what I like to do sometimes, if we stall in these kind of bottoming patterns, I like to go to the left and see where we found some resistance. So that could be a resistance point, and this is obviously our support point, and we have another support point on the candle that we're in at the moment, right? So this is kind of your lower range, which takes up a good chunk of the overall range. So, but all this just gives you is the short-term support and resistance levels, okay? So you start breaking up from here, you can start thinking about longs going up to here. If you start breaking down from here, you can think about shorts coming down into here, because it's already been tested once, now twice in the candle that we're in right now. And so this is kind of where we're sitting at with BTC, really waiting to see what it's going to do. And when you're trading, most of the time you're actually waiting and analyzing. All right, next up, let's take a look at Cyber. So this one is a recent IPO on Binance. Now, this one's a little bit elevated, but I thought this was interesting. And the interesting part, unfortunately, is already passed, but I want to show you something. It's called an ICO base. And an ICO base is something that any new coin that ICOs, and what is an ICO? It's an initial coin offering. It's the first time it comes to market. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know too much about Cyber. I don't know if it was on an exchange prior to Binance, but it's an ICO to Binance. So how do you handle this? Well, pretty much the only thing you can do, first of all, if it's brand new, if the chart looks like this, you really don't do anything with it. Once again, you'll wait, okay? You're pretty foolish if you do anything here. The only wise thing to do, in my opinion, and I don't even advise doing this, would be to short this. Once it has a little bit of a downtrend to it, just short it, because it'll probably come down a little bit. And this one does that, but notice it chops up here for about a week and then goes into a small consolidation. But the problem with shorting it here is that you don't even know when to take profits. It's just not a wise thing to do. The better thing to do is to wait. And a couple ways you can do this. Number one, you can draw a horizontal coming off of kind of its first initial high, and you can see we found resistance here. You can actually call this resistance there. This is resistance there. Another thing you can do is once you go into a definite downtrend, as we did here, you can start to draw trend lines. This one's a little bit tricky, but what you end up with usually is a downward sloping trend line like this. Now, let's say this high didn't pop up and it respected this line, which is what you do see fairly often with some of these ICOs. And then what you do is you wait for the trend line to break, but more importantly, you wait for volume to step in, okay? So, and this is really where our chart starts to look like this. Great charting, right? This is, I think my TA tip of the day was yesterday, the day before was volume. And this is really where volume starts to shine. So here you can see the initial pop, you see little pop, you see the other pop, and these are all the pops that, you know, that were the bullish areas, right? Well, this is where the volume really starts to step in. So what's at play here is that people are trying to take this lower because they're trying to accumulate the asset, right? So they're trying to accumulate the asset, get it under as far down as they can. But as of this resistance or support level, they can't do much with it. Look at the volume here. It's very, very low. Once you see that really, really low volume, especially as you're trying to break a trend like this, then you can start drawing those kind of horizontal lines. And this is an interesting buying area right in, whoops, picked the wrong coin there, or tool, right in here. Reason it's interesting is because you already have an established low. You are above the established low here, and you're playing with the prior high. Now see, they bring it up. Look at the volume, huge volume compared to all. Look at my cursor going across the screen there. You don't see any volume touching that for like 4, 5, 6 days. And this coin's only like 10 days old, so that's a significant amount of time. And then we start to rocket higher with the next high volume candle. So that's when you get involved in this coin, okay? So now that we're up here, it's a little bit trickier. You're into just running, and it's a very obvious move at this particular point in time. So it's hard to have a good decision up here. This, though, has its own story to tell. There's a little bit of a rising wedge happening here. I guess it's a channel. And declining volume. So this is a bit of a dangerous situation, but I have seen these work. What's at play here is that because this coin is so new, there is either a lot of pent-up demand or just people jumping into it because they don't know any better, right? So we let those people play because those are the people that end up creating these patterns, and you have to let it play out. So kind of just like we said before, you wait for volume to step back in. When volume steps in, if we start going up, you can step into that, and your stop is underneath where that high volume steps in. So we can use this as an example. Okay. So a high volume stepped in right here. Well, it started here, but we're going to say, no one's going to see this candle in real time. You're really, really lucky if you did. And even if you bought it, you were in trouble, right? But the second time you get that volume stepping in, let's say you did buy it here. Actually, this could be a good little lesson. So you do kind of get shaken out here, but this is what it would be. You would buy on this big candle or near it, and this would be your stop, okay? Your stop would have to be under that big candle. Now, we did see support here, so one of the hard things about this scenario is that in reality, you should wait for the close of this candle, okay? You wait for the close of the candle because the candle opened here, came down to shake out all the people that were buying, right? Because people are going to have a stop under here, just like what I'm talking about, and then it rallies through. So you want to wait for the rally through, okay? And that's kind of the right way to handle these. There's a couple of good things and like rules in trading that you really should try to abide by. And waiting for the candle to close is one of the harder things to do, but sometimes one of the wiser things to do, okay? And if it's hard to hold, then decrease your position sizes. But that's how you would play this on Cyber. So I don't have any levels for you, unfortunately. People like to see levels. It brings a level of comfort, but in trading, you are rarely comfortable. If you can't get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you're going to have a hard time. So, but this one, you have to wait. I don't have a real good, any good levels for you, entry or exit at this time. All right, next up is Fetch.io. So Fetch.io has been on a little bit of an uptrend recently, so let's take a look at this guy. I want to zoom out to the daily time frame for Fetch. So Fetch has been, like most everything in crypto, big long chart, good uptrend here, downtrend, uptrend, been in a consolidation for a while, right? But we're far from highs. And this has a little bit of room to go. So declining trend line here, right? Nice declining trend line. We are breaking that. So this means that momentum is starting to shift a little bit in the opposite direction. We've been in a downtrend here since February. It is now, well, tomorrow, it's August, September. Pretty good size downtrend. We have a low that was undercut and rallied through. So that's also additional support. And now we have a 2534. This is an alert level I have on my other channel here. 2534. So we tested it and we pulled back. But I do want to show you this because we're starting to see a little bit of this throughout the market. We're starting to see these coins that have long withstanding consolidations start to consolidate. Yeah, that's right. So been consolidating. Now we're doing this horizontal consolidating, okay? Let's pull it into the 2 hour. and we'll zoom in. So keep in mind these highs over here. This is a real resistance level that's been in play for a while. And then boom, we hit resistance at resistance, and that's okay. No problem with that. But let's just keep it in mind going forward. I do want to point out these as I see them. Trading is a little thin right now, as you can imagine, with the market doing what it's doing. So it's good to keep an eye on these really big positions, but that's a good level, 25.34. I don't have an exit as of yet, but what we could do is try to take a measured move of the whole thing. This whole range, right, would be give you about 37. Okay, but at the same time, let's zoom back out to the daily, and the 37 seems a little small. We probably could actually do more than that. So we'll see how this pans out, but this may not break out for a while. But if you don't have the, I know everybody wants actionable trades, right? You want actionable trades. I get it. Okay, but you have to be knowledgeable on what's happening in the whole marketplace, not just what's happening right now. You get that narrow tunnel vision like this, right? Like looking at the camera. You get this vision. You can't have this vision. You don't get a lot of wisdom looking at my right eyeball, right? You got to broaden your viewpoint a little bit, okay? All right, next up is Bitcoin Cash. And Bitcoin Cash, similar situation here with a declining trend line. But this one does have a little more immediacy to it. So you can maybe narrow it just a smidge. Declining trend line, been going on since June. And you can see here, it's interestingly enough, each coin kind of has its own journey, right? So coming down since June, breaking the consolidation a couple of days ago. Let's go down to the 2-hour time frame. And this has a pretty classical kind of a bull flag, maybe a cup and handle setup on it. But what we're going to do here is we're going to draw a horizontal, and then we're going to take our long trade. And this, I think we can arguably plan a trade, although we don't have our stop loss yet. But this coins like this can go at any time. We're going to move this up. This is going to be our target, right? That's pretty close. Pretty close. 20% potential profit. Now, like I mentioned, our stop loss isn't on the chart for us yet. You want to wait for when we break out. What is the low prior to that? That is going to be your stop loss. So let's just say this is a definitive low. We'll put our stop down here. It's about a 3.6 risk reward trade. This one could trigger in the next day or so, right? But we'll see. Ideally, what happens is we chop up a little bit. We get some kind of a handle. I always draw cup and handles when I see these. I just can't help it. It's the nature of the beast sometimes. But then this could be your stop loss. Right? So you'd have a much tighter stop. And that's a much more tenable situation. If you notice, I'm trying to show you guys trades with relatively good risk management. Because when you're trading, and you know what? I'm just going to make this my TA tip of the day. I was going to do something else, but as I do these videos, things change, okay? I'm a human being. TA tip of the day. Take lower risk trades. As low risk as you can get within reason. You want to trade with good setups, and you want to have a good risk point. The reason being is because you're only going to win, and I'm sorry about this, but there's a lot of people say, oh, we win 50, 60, 70% of the time. It can happen. I've seen a lot of those numbers be greatly exaggerated. The great traders that I'm aware of, and I've been trading for 20 years, the greatest traders that I'm aware of, other than Jim Simmons, if you don't know who Jim Simmons is, Google him with his 66% win rate with algorithms. He's a math genius. Most strategies have between a 30 to 40% win rate. 30 to 40%. So you're going to be wrong 60 to 70% of the time. Number one, can you handle that? Number two, can your account handle that? So if you make your risk smaller, you can handle a lot more trades. And hopefully the ones that you win, like maybe this one, can make up for almost 10 losing trades. So if you can have a 3-to-1 risk reward ratio, you can handle a lot of losses, okay? And then when we get into a really good market, all those wins will pay for all those losses and then some. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is trading. That's the truth. Not a lot of people will tell you that, to be honest with you. But that is the truth. You have to suffer a lot of losses, being wrong quite frequently. So, I'm putting my face on this platform. I've put my face on lots of platforms, lots of channels. I've done education for many different people, and no one likes that. Everyone thinks you can win 60, 70% of the time. It's so rare. It's very, very rare to find that strategy and to keep that edge. So you're going to lose a lot. Be comfortable with that. And that's why you have to take the right trade. And that's your TA tip of the day. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you. Leave comments down below about anything you'd like me to cover. If you want me to do more of one thing versus another thing of something you've seen me do in the past few weeks, let me know. I'd appreciate that. And I'll see you guys next time on Altcoin Buzz Trading.